Hello everyone, we're just about one day away from the actual brand new 3.0 banner being dropped, and MiHoYo finally decided to announce what is actually on the banner, which is usually kind of late for them. But with that being said, let's quickly take a look at what is going to be on the second half of the 3.0 patch banner, evaluate how good they are, and let's briefly go through it, starting off with the character banner, which are Ganyu and Kokomi. However, before that, let's talk about the 4-star briefly, as the 4-star on this banner is absolutely amazing. We have Xingqius as well as Sucrose, who are both top tier meta-defining characters. Both Sucrose and Xingqius are pretty much usually considered to be the top of the Genshin Impact meta, so being able to pick those two characters up on this banner is super amazing, on top of the fact that their constellation are really good. Sucrose constellation, not so much, they are not really required. However, Xingqius have super amazing constellation, probably one of the best constellation scaling character in the game. Every single one of his constellation are super ridiculously strong, so picking up a C6 Xingqius if you don't already own them is going to be a ridiculously power level increase for your account. However, alongside those two super powerhouse 4-star characters, we are also getting a brand new 4-star character, Dory. To be honest, the word on the street is that Dory is quite bad. She is a electro healer that also help you generate a little bit of energy, but the word on the street right now is that her energy generation is so terrible that it kind of breaks the characters. For the most part, we don't really know yet, we still have to test it out. There is a pretty high chance, to be honest, that I don't actually end up making a Dory video simply because I don't feel like pulling on these banner, as I already own both limited characters, and if Dory is truly that bad, then I feel like it's not really worth the pull anyway. It's just not very interesting. Nevertheless though, as the release of Danjo, Kuki became a really solid electro healer, so I think if you already have Kuki, then Dory is probably not really necessary. Nevertheless, being able to pick up a brand new 4-star character just for collection purpose could always be appreciated. So if you're looking for the 5-star characters, and overall I think the 4-star character on this banner are super solid and amazing. 2 of them being top of the meta and 1 of them being just brand new, so you kind of want them anyway. But of course, most of you probably care about the 5-star character more that are being rerun, which are Ganyu as well as Kokomi. So let's briefly talk about those. Starting off with Ganyu, the release of Danjo didn't really change her meta position at all, since crowd doesn't react with Danjo unfortunately, so she's still pretty much the same character as before. The thing about Ganyu is that I think most people very often overestimate the amount of damage she actually do as well as her power level. However, I do believe that in general Ganyu is a decently high value character simply because she is very versatile. She can be used in many different situations, in bossing, in AoE, in single target. While she might not be the best at doing all of those, she's generally quite decent at doing all of those. In terms of strictly speaking power level though, her overall damage is actually not as high as many of the 5-star characters that are being release, especially when being compared to her other 5-star crowd counterpart Ayaka. In general, if we're strictly talking about a freeze team, one could definitely argue that Ayaka is strictly stronger than Ganyu in terms of overall power level, but I would like to believe that Ganyu overall just have more value since she's just more versatile and it's harder to counter, so it's easier to whip out the Ganyu whenever you need her to. If you already own Ayaka, then you don't have to pick up Ganyu, but in general, I would recommend considering to pick up one of the 2 cryo DPS to draft a freeze team, since very often whenever a freeze team does work in the Abyss, it is one of the strongest options you can run on the other side. Now, while many people might argue that freeze team hasn't been doing that well, the real truth is that it just wasn't that well for the last 2 Abyss iteration, simply because they specifically built them to counter cryo DPS, and as you can see in the current Abyss, whenever it does work, it will easily shred content. So unless MiHoYo plan on never making crowd DPS viable again, then freeze team will always remain a super strong dominant option, and so if you have spare PMO, it is something worth considering to pick up. Speaking of freeze team, conveniently on the other character banner is going to be another key component to drafting a freeze team, which is Sanganomiya Kokomi, who can provide off-field hydro as well as healing. In general, Kokomi is nowadays a pretty decent pull. She's definitely very far from being a must pull, especially if you don't consider her healing to be important, then her value are actually not that high. The biggest value that Kokomi has is that she can be your hydro applicator while also conveniently bringing you healing, and could be very useful in many teams such as a freeze team or a taser team, or to some extent some of the brand new Danjo Hyper Bloom team. We're gonna have a separate dedicated video dedicated to if you should be pulling on Kokomi in the upcoming rerun, and so be sure to stay subscribed to check that out, and if you're not subscribed already, then this will be a good time to do so. However, moving on to the weapon banner, I'll just be very honest right now, this weapon banner is pretty terrible. as both of the 5-star weapon on this banner are just, to be honest, not very good. And a lot of you might be confused, so let me explain. Starting off, we have Everlasting Moon Glow, or sometimes referred to as Donut. This is one of the worst weapon you can ever bring into your account, as it just doesn't really do anything, as Kokomi mainly prefer to run Furling Tail of Dragon Slayer to buff the rest of her team instead, rather than trying to do damage on herself. So the Everlasting Moon Glow is pretty much a weapon that never get run in the Genshin Impact meta, and it just doesn't have any value at all. Now, while the Amos bow could be good on Ganyu, to be very honest, it is only good for certain Ganyu team, and in general, it is not even that much better than the other 5-star option. And many times, to be honest, the other 5-star bow are very competitive, if not better than the Amos bow, and therefore, Amos bow is not something that I would recommend you to pull for, especially given that it is on the standard banner. So you could somehow get an Amos bow just by losing on your standard banner as well. But in general, any of the 5-star bow or Krista would just generate so much more value for your account than Amos bow, because not only they could be really strong on Ganyu as well, but you can also use them on pretty much any of the bow carrying characters. And so I just wouldn't really recommend pulling on the Amos bow, especially since your other weapon is the Everlasting Moon Glow. The 4-star on the weapon banner are just alright. Rust nowadays is pretty much exclusively a Yoimiya weapon. Sacrificial Sword is always appreciated, a really good energy recharge sword that can be used on pretty much all the sword support, especially good on character like Kazuya or Xingqiu's. Eye of Perception is a dead weapon. Dragon Bane, especially at high refinement, could be really good on base price pull arm character like Hu Tao, Rosario, and of course you know it, Xiangling. And finally, the Euphonious Greatsword. Now, the Euphonious Greatsword is not being used that often nowadays in the Genshin Impact meta, simply because we don't really have amazing Claymore support yet. But if we do ever get amazing Claymore support, then we can easily see the Euphonious Greatsword being used. So picking up Euphonious Greatsword, especially refining it at high refinement, could be really beneficial. For example, if Dori end up being a okay or even good characters, then we can easily see the Euphonious Greatsword being one of her best weapon, simply because the Euphonious weapon series is just so strong to generate energy for your entire team, as well as for the supporting character themselves. So that's pretty much it for the 4-star weapon on this weapon banner. Nevertheless, I think overall the weapon banner is one of the worst one we have seen in existence, simply because both 5-star weapon are not that valuable. However, the character banner is actually really good. Both of these characters are really strong in the Genshin Impact meta, and then the 4-star Sucrose Xingqiu's are really ridiculously strong in the Genshin Impact meta as well. And while Dori might not be that good, at least that's the word on the street, at least she is a new character, so if you happen to be pulling on these banner and you get a Dori, well, at least that's one more new character for your account for collection purpose. So overall, these two character banner are honestly super amazing, and are probably one of the better or even best one we have ever seen so far. And so that's super good, especially if you're a new player. But with that being said, that is pretty much the banner review for the second half of the Genshin Impact 3.0. And as always, let me know what you think in the comment below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know it, and I'll see you guys all next time.